I think we're live.
Wow.
And so what's going to happen is, Kai, you're setting up the Instagram as well. Hi, everybody. All right, we're going live on Instagram as well, so that's just going to take us a second. But I want to welcome Amar Sanga and his mom um, from Vancouver. Are you in Vancouver? I know you're in British
We're
Columbia.
in Metro Vancouver, just in the suburbs.
In the suburbs. Okay. Well, welcome to the Women's International Film Festival and our film for opening night for 2023. How exciting. Welcome.
Yeah, we are very honored that Emergence Out of the Shadows is the opening night film at the 19th, I believe, annual Vancouver International Women's Film and Arts Festival in New York City.
Yeah.
So we're very excited, right?
And and it's so great because what's so different is that, we've got, I think since COVID, we've got this new methodology of reaching people, not just, in person, because I'm here in New York and, you're in British Columbia, Canada. And it's so great that we're able to connect with people all over the world. So in some ways, just having that ability, I think we all just pivoted, right? When the world was shut down, to try to find ways to continue living and to continue doing some of the things that, we wanted to do in the past. So what we're doing this year with the Women's International Film Festival is we're doing a lot of it online. We launched our streaming platform, WIFF TV, during the pandemic. It was something that we were planning on doing years back, but the pandemic just kind of made us push it forward. And so this platform is not only going to be showing films and television and information about of things by women or about women, but we're also going to be doing webinars and seminars addressing issues that impact us on a global basis. So, I think this film to me is just a great example of what we go through as people, what we go through as women, and and the men went through as well in this movie. And so we welcome you to be part of the 2023 event and, the opening night. So Amar, if you could just tell me a little bit about how this all came about. I mean, this is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous film. And how did it come about? And then I want to talk to your mom in terms of her role in your life. I just felt it was, was such a strong character in supporting you and the community as a whole.
So the trigger for the film was really the character Caden, who was an international student in Vancouver. And when his family that he was staying with in Vancouver found out he was gay, he was completely disowned. He was homeless. He had no food, no money for food or shelter. He had no money for his international student fees. His immigration status was in limbo. He was completely stuck and on the verge of deportation. So you find out in Emergence what happens to Caden and, how he got involved with, the rest of the characters. And the director, Vinay Giridhar, who directed the film, he wanted to make sure there was a gender balance, that there was a strong female presence in the film. That's why we have Jag's mother, my mother, and Jag in the film. And he also wanted to make sure that we didn't just sugarcoat what happens to queer people in our community. We showed the positive as well as some of the negative that happens.
And I would think, especially as immigrant families, right? I know that a lot of us who are immigrants, we come with a lot of stuff from the old country, good and bad. Like there's some great things that I know, my family's originally from the Caribbean, from Jamaica in particular. And I just love being Jamaican, right? As much as I am, Canadian or American, I just love it. And there's so many great things about our culture. But I also know that no matter where you are in the world, there's these, a lot of beliefs that, that sometimes, we end up having to challenge to a certain extent. And so I know that your mother was so prominent in, you know, supporting you and who you are as a gay man. But you know, do you think it was a little bit more challenging because you are of Indian descent?
You know, I think it's challenging for people in all communities, but I think people of color have specific challenges because there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of taboo, there's not a lot of understanding. There's expectations put on you to get married and have children and sort of support your extended family. You know, the idea of just taking off and going off with a guy is just seems like you're going against everything that you've been taught and raised about.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, and a lot of people feel in our communities because there's not a lot of education that it's a sin or that it's wrong or it's not natural or this is a white man's disease. This is a white man's condition. This is not something that impacts and affects South Asian people or people of color. And I think because of that, a lot of queer people have a hard time coming out in their communities and they get marginalized and they deal with a lot of depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and it's a real struggle for them. They're dealing with internalized homophobia, and some of them are even dealing with internalized racism because there's just so much racism within their communities as well, not only within the larger community, but also within the queer community.
And so to your mother, how did you feel when you first found out that your son was gay? And do you was being of Indian descent more challenging, do you think, for you for something, you know, how you're going to deal with it and how your community would think of you and your son?
To me, my child was number one. Then
That's why
my
I loved you.
my family,
I loved you right there, right there.
the community and culture and the skin color and everything else can come after to deal with. First of all, every child have the fundamental right to be loved by at least their parents. If the
Yes.
mother cannot do it, how could you expect from the neighbor and the people around you? So I was
Yeah.
very firm to do 100% as a child, not as a gay or straight or anything. That was not that important to me. To me was that as long as I have my child comfortable and whoever he is, wherever he go, whatever he become, always be my son. So
Yeah.
why would I let other people lead my life, control my life? Everybody have their own remote control in their own TV room, and why my control will go to other people? So I was very strict for that. Yes, I felt sorry. I felt sad. I was crying. I was in the difficulty to go through my emotions. But outside, I just was quite brave to say, that's okay. That's my son, whoever he is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And my
Well,
mother, I
no,
was
please
just
do.
gonna say, my mother also turned to her faith, right? Didn't you turn to your
Yes,
faith?
yes, yeah. My faith was very strong. So I
Yeah.
believe that I do not do anything. I just came to the earth. My parents take care of me. And above all, the Almighty higher power is for everybody as a father. We are all his or her children. They don't have any gender anyway. So that was my big strength and my mother behind my back.
Yeah, I think that what I'm really feeling and hearing, and I also heard it as I watched, is your strength, Mom, your strength, you know, because for you to say, you know what, it doesn't matter about the larger community, it doesn't matter about what people will say, it's about the happiness of my child, the child that I brought to this earth. And first and foremost, he comes first, and everything else and everyone else comes second. And not everybody, not everybody is strong enough to do that, especially if you come from a strong culture.
Yeah, I was actually very confused because nobody know how we born. Nobody know when my parents born. We cannot say a single thing about our parents, even about our God. We just listening to each other. In our bringing up, we develop the faith, and now it's too strong that nobody can fall apart or anything, because it's all in the spirit. It's all in the thought process. It's not outside body and outside world. To
Yeah,
me, it's very important your own inner world to stand on your feet first.
absolutely. And would you say then that that the South Asian community, um, generally speaking, finds it difficult to accept typically,
Oh,
historically?
yes. They thought I'm
Yeah.
crazy. They thought I am crazy doing this. My child. They thought something wrong in my head, that
Yeah.
I'm not understanding it. But I know
Yes.
what I'm doing. I know to begin with, and I
Yeah.
am still understanding it. But other
Yes.
people were thinking I'm crazy. So when they think that, yeah, she's so strong, you can't really mend or bend, and she know what she's doing, then they go quiet. But that does not mean they were not talking behind my back.
Oh, okay.
Right. No, very true. Very
Yes.
true. Yeah.
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 You know what's the interesting thing, Yvonne, is
Yes.
homophobia and transphobia actually has a direct adverse effect on heterosexual people. It's not only harmful to queer people, it's also directly harmful to heterosexual people. And for example, I get many gay men coming to my counseling practice who are in marriages, arranged marriages or love marriages or whatever,
Mhm.
and they are living a double life, a closeted life, and they're married to a woman to please their families. So they have deprived a woman of a satisfying sexual or romantic emotional connection and bond and a relationship, while they're off running around with guys and men and putting their wife at risk of STDs and HIV because they're not necessarily practicing safe sex. So this now is more than a social issue and a cultural issue. It has now become a healthcare issue. And how does it benefit these women to be married to these gay men, right? How does it really benefit their relationship? And there's plenty of heterosexual men out there who are looking to get married and meet women. So really this homophobia and transphobia that, you know, permeates through our society is directly adversely impacting heterosexual people as well. You know,
Yeah.
we would all be better off. We would all be better off if people would accept queer people.
Yeah. I never thought of it about it that way. Not at all. I never thought about that other component, because if if you're gay, you're not going to be happy, and you're going to try to find a way to be with the person that you really want to be. And then how does it impact your other family? You're absolutely right. I never thought about that. So now you're talking about health issues, and then the emotional and all of that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it
very
would
sad
just be so
story.
much.
The
Yeah.
emotional toll, the psychological toll, the mental toll. Could you imagine going through your life being something that you're not and being forced in a, I mean, could you imagine a heterosexual man forced in a marriage with another man? You know, this
Mhm.
is essentially what is happening to
Right.
these
You're
two men.
doing the opposite. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's honestly what it takes a lot of times for people to understand, is to hear it the opposite way. And then they're like, oh, and it opens their eyes a little bit more. So I think that was a really great point to say that, like, imagine if you were a man forced to marry a man and it feels the same for you. Like, imagine if, just because your culture didn't accept you, or maybe your mother wasn't as accepting, you continued to go through life and then end up in a heterosexual relationship where you're never really feeling as if you're yourself, or you're comfortable, or you're accepted. And yeah, that would just be, brutal in simplest terms.
You know, I do think change is happening. I'm hearing from even the older generation now that, oh, my son is gay, but it's not his fault. That's just the way he is. And I'm starting to hear a lot more narratives around acceptance now. And people are understanding that everything in nature and in creation is diverse. If you look at the flowers, you look at the animal kingdom, it makes sense for there to be gay people and bisexual people and straight people and transgender people. I mean, diversity is the miracle of creation. We're not all a bunch of clones of each other.
That's
No,
so
and
true.
thank God we're not all a bunch of clones of each other. Just look at the
No,
different
we'd be so
colors.
bored.
Look at all the wonderful, beautiful colors of people we have. People of all
Right.
different colors, right? So we're all
And all
different.
kinds of and all kinds of interests that makes the world go round even better, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
imagine if we're all the same. Like,
Yeah, it'd be a sad world if everyone just looked alike.
so give me an update on the young man that, and I don't remember his name from the movie, that was
Caden.
abandoned by his
Caden,
family.
right?
Caden, yeah. What happened? What happened? How is he doing? And is his family come round at all? Like, no, at all? Or?
So Caden received a lot of support from Share Vancouver in terms of housing, in terms of food, in terms of we did a fundraiser for his tuition, international student fees. And then what happened was we provided him with very strong references from the director and myself as the producer. On a special circumstance, he got admitted to the psychology program at Simon Fraser University, which is actually one of the top universities in British Columbia. And then he also got a job, through a few contacts Share Vancouver had, and he had to pass the interview. But really, they heard the story of Caden on a CBC interview, which is a big public broadcaster, and they contacted us. They wanted to meet Caden, and they hired him to be initially as a bank teller at this credit union, but now he works in their community sponsorship and community engagement department. And the good news is, he ended up getting his permanent residency in Canada and his immigration.
Nice.
So that's
nice.
great. Unfortunately, the film has 75,000 views online on YouTube and different platforms, but he has not been contacted by his family in India or his mother or his father or what is happening. I'm sure they must have heard about the film by now because it went to major film festivals in Mumbai and of course online in India. But it's a sense of real deep sadness for him, and he has an underlying feeling of deep rejection from his whole. You can't imagine how a young man must feel in terms of his self-esteem, his self-identity, and his self-confidence when his entire family has rejected him. So it's a horrible feeling. It's such a sad feeling. But you know what? Let me tell you something. There's a bright spot because he has a chosen family.
Yeah.
He has my mother, who has embraced him, and he calls her Grandma J. He has myself, and he has the Share Vancouver family, which is the registered charity that Caden turned to, which I founded, that supports him. We adore Caden. We love him, but we know he's struggling with very serious and severe rejection, depression, anxiety, all these issues that come when you, for something which is not even your fault.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And,
Being human.
and a lot of people in our community, in the Punjabi Sikh South Asian culture, I mean, a lot of boys and men are very close to their mothers. They're very, very close to their mothers. Boys and their mothers. I mean, it's no secret that boys are privileged in our community,
Yes.
and they're very close to their mothers. And it was very, very challenging and difficult for Caden to separate from his mom. And he tried to call her a few times, and there was, she just, like I said in the film, she just hung up basically.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, but my mom says something else. My mother, speaking as a mother, says that the community and the culture could be very patriarchal.
Yes.
So it's not fair to judge the mother. And she may not have the power or the position in her family to accept a gay child.
Yes. I understand that. She is probably, and I can't imagine otherwise, really, really upset inside. But probably it would not be permitted to reach out to him or respond if he did reach out to her. I would think that, she would have to kind of follow suit. So you can imagine how terrible it must be for her as well.
Yeah, it's very terrible. And
On the other side, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's terrible for her as well.
yeah, I mean, this is what happens when in our community, when a bride is married, she goes and lives with her in-laws, with her husband's family. And so her power in that household is very limited, actually. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very limited. And it's an unfortunate situation for a lot of women in our community that um, this is what happens to them. And a lot of them have horrific stories and tragic stories. And it's a very sad situation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's more than just, losing your voice. It could be like completely feeling as if you've lost yourself in situations like that, which I feel like roots back to where we were saying, a lot of us that come from strong cultures, we have so much pride for that culture, but there's also things that maybe are just a bit outdated, if it doesn't sound too harsh, but it's just like, things that we've just always done, ways that we've always been. I come from a Nigerian culture where we get married off very, very, very young, and thankfully that's stemming away from that now, but it's something that's been so normalized for so many years and so many generations that it takes starting these conversations to really break down the barriers and see that there is possibly issues in the way we've just always thought. Just because we've always thought that way doesn't mean it's necessarily how we should continue.
Yeah, I was actually I wrote an essay on the sacrifice of Punjabi Sikh women, and I was looking at it, everything from when they're under their parents' control and care for the first 20, 30 years of their life, how they're pressured to get married when they're before 30, have children, and not only children, but a male child. And then
Mm-hmm.
as they get older, they are working full time outside of the house, and then coming home and doing a full time job doing domestic chores, cooking and cleaning for the whole family. And then you would think by the time they've raised their children and their grandmothers that they could rest, but it doesn't work that way, because then their children have children, and guess who has to take care of them?
True.
Yeah.
And guess who has to take care of them? So it's like a never ending life cycle of exploitation, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just a sad, sad situation that I have seen in my community. And my mom has gone through it firsthand, and she left her husband, my father. He was alcoholic, he was abusive. You can talk about that. How was that for you?
Yeah, it all boils down to your beliefs, the way you raised, your bringing up, your surrounding, and we believed in one man relationship.
Of course.
And I got married I had a registration for the marriage, and then in the Gurdwara, the proper ceremony. So with 4 times we bow our head when they're reading the Holy Granth. That means that I follow the teaching of that Holy Granth. So to me, once we are two bodies one, and then the child came, we are 3 and then 4 and then 5, complete family. So that is for the life. That's
Yes.
how I believed. And here in Western world is different. As you say, to begin with, although I learned a lot around here in Western world in last 53 years, I left India in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
Married in England, have children in England, and then 73 we came to Canada, so 50 years in Canada. But back of my mind that I'm okay the way I am. So then I cannot tolerate that my kids not having the way I want to give it to them, everything, the way I was raised with loving and caring situation surrounding in the house. Only the reason because India was under British rule, and my grandfather, my father, the whole family was a freedom fighter. They went to as a political prisoners, and all that stuff happened. Then I born after 1947 when India got freedom. So my grandparents raised me with the equal rights, and they were looking up to me that how she handled when she go into that type of situation. So when things were not the way I wanted, so I decided to leave. Then I don't know where to go. So I asked my brother and his wife, and they agree with me. And I brought 3 children with me when I have no job, no education. I was a high school teacher in my mother tongue, in Punjabi language, not
Yes.
much English, and but I have my faith. I say, if God choose me in this wide whole world to be a mother of these three musketeers, then that God will guide me to raise them whichever way I can. So then I go back to college and upgrade my English, and then done that career course and done 1, 2, 3, everything. And right now I'm sitting in my own house and I am retired TCA, I mean total care aide. And so it's not easy. It was hard, but inside me was a very strong stream and very, very strong guide. Something inside my little voice was telling me big, big dreams, that one of these days you will be able to do everything. You just keep on doing, because you put the seed in the universe. This is what you want, this is what you need, that is your necessities. So you are a mother. Everybody say mother is next to God. And how can I make my children believe that mother is an important part of your life? And then I was crying that people suggest me to go for welfare, do this, do that. Sometimes people taught me like, oh, why don't you go to Davy Street or something? I don't even know what it is. But then I say, no, when my kids grow up, they will question that mom never done anything. So I have to do something. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that I done it. It was a very hard road, but I'm very, very grateful that I reached to the destination.
Well, let me ask you really quickly. Did your community ostracize you? Like, wasn't it unheard of for you to say, listen, I'm not going to stay with this man because, he's destructive and I don't want to be part of that? How was your community in terms of how
The
did they?
community, as I say, my family, whole family was not really caring about community that much. The
Okay.
same way I felt my child first, my
Yes.
parents and my sibling, they say we have to take care of Jaspel. If
Okay.
she's not well, and the kids will be like going to the orphanage or something. So they
Yes.
support me. My family support me. Community was not happy with me. They thought if the woman talked to me, maybe I teach that woman to get out of that situation. People were not liking me, but my family was very supportive.
Yes. Good,
Yeah.
good, good. That makes a big difference. So
Yes.
tell me what's next with the film, and obviously anybody that is part of the Women's Film Festival and have signed on will be able to watch the film on the platform until the 31st. So they've got another 8 or 9, 10 days, and then after that, so I'm encouraging everybody to, if you haven't gotten your pass yet, to go ahead and get a pass. This is the first of 40 films that will be streaming throughout the next 10 days. If you don't want to get a pass, you can even just watch this movie alone just by logging on to the WIFF site. And I believe we have it for like just $4.99, so that people can see it if they're not able to do the entire pass for the entire festival. So we're really, really encouraging everybody to watch this. What are the next steps for you in the film, and how can the community who's watching
Continue
continue
to
to support?
Yeah, so actually, the film was just approved to go into the Surrey School District, which is the largest school district in British Columbia. It will be going into grades 10 to 12 classrooms across the school district. We are slowly going into Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond. Now that we got Surrey, it'll be easier to get into other school districts.
Yes.
And our main goal with this film, even though it did very well in terms of television broadcast, 3 television stations in Canada took the film. We had 48 official selections at major film festivals, including Academy Award, BAFTA, and 5 Canadian Screen Award festivals, qualifying festivals. And then we also had over 50 screenings in Metro Vancouver alone in schools. So, we made this film not so much to win awards, and even though we love your festival, it wasn't so much to get into film festivals. It was to get into schools, to create safe spaces, to educate the community, to create awareness, and to save lives. And that's why we made this film as a charity, as a registered charity. There's not many registered charities that are in film production. But
Yes.
these two posters behind me, we made those films. And that was the purpose. And I'm really happy to say that, we are our trajectory is looking good. We're getting into the school systems. We're reaching the kids. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we had a screening in front of 700 students in a theater in the Bell Center for the Performing Arts in Surrey. And we had 250 questions from the audience.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry,
Can you
go ahead.
believe it?
Mhm. No,
And
that's amazing.
about 80% of the students in this theater were South Asian, Punjabi, Sikh, brown students.
Mhm.
Wow.
And that's what I love about film. And sometimes people ask, and that's what I love about film. We have done screenings throughout the years where we've had people, dealing with all kinds of issues, and, people are crying and people are asking questions and people are becoming advocates. People have changed their careers. This is all the stuff that's happened, that people have come back to me and said, I went to a screening and I learned this and I dropped my major and started something new because of the information that they got from the movie. And that's what I like. I think what it does is it provides opportunity for somebody to look at something from a different perspective, and at that time also feel like they're in a safe space. And that's what I like about when you do these screenings that's why you can have 250 questions, because people have been looking at a screen and addressing and considering this particular topic for more than an hour. And then they've had time to and see people who look like themselves, like, oh, this is just a normal guy. This is, this is not. And I think, so I congratulate you on what you're doing. And I know we spoke about the possibility of working to see how we can bring it to the US. I'm going to be here to help you with that effort. So, in April, let's talk. And I'm here and the festival is here as a service. We could certainly, I spend a lot of time in the South Florida area and different parts of the country. So we could perhaps host further screenings as the year goes on. And then, we'll see what, I know you probably want to take it to the schools and all of that. So I just want to congratulate you one more time for being brave, both of you. Because I think in many ways it's probably just easier to pretend, right? Pretend that everything is okay. It's easier to pretend that, as you said, maybe just go along, right? Sometimes it's easier to go along, but when you take a stand, it takes a lot of courage, and that's what the two of you represent to me.
And Yvonne, I just want to mention that I was raised by a single mother. So I am so proud to see another powerful woman of color like both of you,
Thank you.
providing a platform for people like us to share our stories and our lived experience, and giving and elevating and empowering women and their children and people of color. And it's not easy in this world for a woman, especially a woman of color, to and now you're celebrating your 19th year in this film festival, and you are helping people, you're making a difference. It's wonderful. I tell people that when I make films, I'm a social worker by profession, that my films are just another way of doing social work or social advocacy or social activism, And I really feel you in many ways are doing social work as well. And I just really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're really excited to be part of your world, and that you are now part of the WIFF, the Women's International Film Festival family. And once you're part of the family, you're stuck with us.
Yeah, we don't let you go.
We don't let you go. All the best to the people in the film, the two ladies, and their parents. Who I saw also were incredible. So pass on our love to them, and to the young man, Caden. Pass on our love to him, and all the best. And we will continue to support you. Is there a website you want everybody to go to at this?
Yeah, sure. For more information on Emergence, just go to emergencefilm.net. Emergencefilm.net, and you can find all the information on Emergence there.
Okay, excellent. And we'll put it
Alrighty.
in the things at the bottom, the transcripts at the bottom, so that people can get in the description. Okay, thanks again on this Monday evening. I mean, this Wednesday evening.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you for
know.
being part of the festival, and we will see you soon. And we'll talk next month when the festival's over, and we'll talk about how to move forward. Thanks, Mom. Thanks
you
for
so
all
much.
that you do.
Bye.
I want to say, I feel like you are my cousins sitting there. I work with Jamaican girls, and our doctor was in the hospital from Nigeria, and we are
Yes.
sitting in front of each other, and I honestly really love it.
so much. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks
Bye.
again.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, love you.
Bye.
Oh, that was great.
Yes.
Okay, well, I love someone's in here now. Well, we just finished, so
Oh, okay.
all
Well,
done.
all done. Bye. Everybody get your ticket.
Bye.
The Women's
Yep.
Film Festival is coming up.
Get your tickets and then join our next panel. All right.